A major ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court in Hobby Lobby's fight against the Obama administration's birth control mandate. Hobby Lobby owner David Green argued providing financial coverage for some methods of contraceptives went against his family's religious beliefs. The High Court sided with the Oklahoma City-based retailer and ruled the company is protected under the Federal Religious Freedom Restoration Act. In a 5-4 decision, justices said the act allows Hobby Lobby and other closely held corporations to refuse coverage for contraceptives if they object to them on religious grounds. Soon after the decision was handed down, some religious groups and local officials came out in support of the High Court ruling.
Well, as Oklahoma Baptist leader Dr. Anthony Jordan said, religious liberty is our first freedom, our most important freedom. And to have a ruling like this from the Supreme Court is a big victory, and we rejoice in that. We are so grateful for the Green family and their courage to stand for religious liberty, for life. It's just a great day.
Well, a very important day for religious liberty today. When you look at the court saying unequivocally that a corporation like David Green's, a privately held, closely held company possessing free exercise rights under the First Amendment, that was the question before the court. Individuals possess that under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which is a statute passed by Congress, and the First Amendment. And the question today is whether corporations that are privately held, closely held, which means not publicly traded, like Hobby Lobby, do they possess the same rights? And the court said unequivocally that they do. So it's a great day for religious liberty. And I'm hopeful that this sends a very clear message across the country that when government seeks to impose itself upon the conscience of individuals and conscience of companies like David Green's, that they understand they cannot do that. So it's a very important day.
However, there are some concerns about how the Supreme Court's decision will impact other companies and corporations' right to deny or provide health care coverage for other medications or procedures.
The decision today by the United States Supreme Court that held that closely held for-profit corporations with a religious mission does not have to provide insurance to its employees for certain kinds of contraceptions that violate its religious principles is important, and its implications are even more important. One of the questions is, do for-profit corporations that are publicly held, not just privately held but traded on the stock market, have those same rights to act if they have a religious mission as well? And that raises the question of, even in the case of smaller companies like Hobby Lobby that are for-profit corporations and just have a few owners.
While the majority of the Supreme Court justices say today's ruling is a narrow decision that only applies to closely held, privately run companies, the 4 dissenting judges disagree.
As been the kind of the case since oral arguments, what you heard from some of those justices was, look, this just opens this up to everything. I mean, you could, these corporations don't deserve this kind of protection anyway. This is meant for this kind of religious liberty was meant for individuals, and if you're going to grant these kinds of exemptions, there's no telling what's coming next from corporations.
Democrats control the U.S. Senate, and some said they would propose legislation to ensure women have access to contraceptive coverage. However, the House is controlled by Republicans, many of whom held the court's decision.
It's going to be a struggle in Congress for them to quote, fix this portion of the Affordable Care Act to ensure that this coverage is provided to women somehow. It's going to be an interesting political struggle, even as we just spoke, this legal struggle will continue over this.
Stay with newsok.com for more updates on this story and analysis from the Oklahoman's Chris Castile, as well as local coverage in the Oklahoman and, of course, online at newsok.com.